Since I'll be the one spending the most time at home, the largest room here belongs to me.
With those words, this woman began to explore our new house like it was hers. My anger reached its peak at her audacious behavior and remarks. Excuse me? Your room? And where exactly is that, if you insist? At my words, my sister-in-law turned beet red and lunged at me. My name is Sophia, a 32-year-old corporate worker. My husband, George, and I have been together since high school and have been married for 7 years. Perhaps because we've spent nearly half our lives together, our relationship is more like of an old married couple compared to other married couples of our age. However, I can't think of anyone else to be with other than George. I even have a good relationship with my in-laws, and currently, we're living with them for various reasons. My father-in-law will be retiring in a few months, and my mother-in-law works part-time. We all share household chores, and we, of course, contribute to the household expenses. Everything was going relatively well, but then the devil showed up unexpectedly. One Sunday, we were enjoying a peaceful day weekend. Then we heard the beeping sound of a truck backing up outside. Did someone order anything? We asked each other.
My room is the one on the right on the second floor, so please start there. Oh, I just realized I don't have the key. Hey, open the door for me.
Huh? This voice? No way. I shivered at the familiar voice. When we went to the front door, there was Charlotte, my sister-in-law, who we hadn't seen in years. Behind her were several movers holding cardboard boxes. Hold on, Charlotte, what do you think you're doing showing up out of the blue without even a call? And who are these guys? At my mother-in-law's words, Charlotte looked puzzled. What do you mean? I just quit my job and became unemployed, so I'm moving back home. It's my parents' house, so I don't have to tell you guys beforehand, haha. We were all speechless at Charlotte's gleeful response. Behind her, the confused mover stood.
Don't mind them, just go ahead and move my stuff in,
Charlotte said, and then she strutted into our house and up the stairs.
Huh? My room's been turned into a storage room. Dang. Hey, move this stuff out now.
The shrill voice of Charlotte yelling on the second floor made me ask, What should we do? My husband and my in-laws sighed deeply in response. Let's listen to her first and then try to get her out. Knowing her personality, she won't listen if we simply tell her to leave. My father-in-law, sighing deeply, seemed to age in an instant. We decided to stack Charlotte's belongings in the hallway for the time being and started discussing what to do. Charlotte's sulking face was just as annoying as I remembered.
By the way, why is George and his wife here? Are you guys living with Mom and Dad because you're broke or something?
Charlotte snorted, bringing back unpleasant memories for me. Charlotte is 2 years younger than me, but I've disliked this girl since she was in high school. That's because we both graduated from the same high school. Back in our student days, George's sister Charlotte approached me saying,
You're George's girlfriend, right? In that case, why don't you lend me some money since I'm your sister-in-law?
Despite the fact that I was older than her, she disrespectfully addressed me from our very first encounter and even asked me for money. Although I was an only child, I didn't appreciate how casually she talked to her older brother either. I replied, What? No way. Of course, even though she was my boyfriend's sister, I wasn't big enough of a person to give money to someone with such an attitude. On hearing my response, Charlotte remarked,
Wow, you're so stingy. Damn.
She gave me a dirty look and then walked off. You're the insane one here. This was my unpleasant first encounter with my sister-in-law, Charlotte. Apparently, Charlotte's attitude towards her family was even worse, and my in-laws had been concerned about it since long ago. She was constantly getting into trouble in school, causing her parents to be called to school at least twice a month. Even after graduating from high school, Charlotte remained unemployed and spent her days goofing around. At our wedding ceremony, she drank a lot and got incredibly drunk. Every time she spotted a man to her liking, she would make a fuss. When she saw me in my wedding dress, she pointed and said,
It doesn't suit you at all, haha,
and bursted into laughter. She was just awful. As a result of her behavior that day, her relationship with her own family turned sour, to the point of almost being disowned. Charlotte, who got angry in return, left the house, but after a few years, she appeared as if nothing had happened, which left our family completely flabbergasted. It was for our lease renewal at our previous apartment, but our new house isn't ready yet, so Dad let us stay here. George explained, shooting Charlotte a glowering look.
George, you're building a house? Wow, I see you're really doing well,
Charlotte said with a mocking laugh.
After George and Sophia's house is finished, we're moving out too.
Charlotte, please find a new place and a job and leave this house by then, said my mother-in-law coldly.
How can you be so cold to a daughter who's just gone through a breakup and is without a job? Can you really call yourself a mother? So, when George's house is finished, that means a fresh start in a new house? You treat George so much better than me.
Charlotte stared back at her parents, stomped up the stairs with heavy footsteps, and left. According to Charlotte, she had broken up with her boyfriend, lost herself, and came back home. From that day, our peaceful family life was ruined because of Charlotte. Our lifestyles didn't match. She made loud phone calls with her friends late at night, which caused George to lose his temper, and they often ended up fighting. Despite not doing any housework, whenever I cooked, she would butt in saying,
"What? Fish? I hate them because they have too many sharp, tiny bones. Can you cook us meat? I want me some meatloaf."
To this intrusive Charlotte, I said, "If you want meatloaf, please cook it yourself, or at least contribute a little money to the household. How about that?" Charlotte always spoke to me with an attitude. I despise her, so I always spoke to her in a formal tone, in a way to remind her that I'm not one of her little friends. She never referred to me as anything other than, "Hey," or "George's wife." So I decided to return the favor by only referring to her as "Hey." Of course, I was aware that she hated fish.
Why do I have to contribute money to my own household? You're just a parasite living off of George's money and my family. Don't act so high and mighty.
I was dumbfounded by Charlotte's audacity. Really? Is that how you see it? How's your job hunting and apartment search going? Our new home is almost complete, I retorted. At my words, Charlotte's face turned red for a moment before she replied with an oddly cheerful,
"Don't worry, I've thought it all through,"
and looked at me with a self-satisfied smirk. During such a heated exchange, my mother-in-law, Susan, appeared concerned and said, "Sophia, dear, I'm really sorry if Charlotte is bothering you. Are you okay?" Everyone was feeling worn out dealing with Charlotte, who barely listened to anyone. "I'm fine, Susan, but you should also take it easy. It seems like Charlotte has misunderstood something. Is everything all right?" At my words, Susan let out a deep sigh. "Even when her father and I try to talk to her, she just locks herself in her room and tells us to stop nagging. I wonder if she'd come out if we set off a bug bomb," Susan joked, making me laugh. Days passed and our dream home was finally complete. George and I worked tirelessly, managing to accumulate a significant down payment. The kitchen was filled with my personal touches, and the bathroom was designed to be a sanctuary for my bath-loving husband. It was our dream home. As we were unpacking and enjoying ourselves, the doorbell rang. Knowing that George's parents were coming to help, I peeked at the monitor to see Charlotte tagging along. Man, I really don't want to have her in our new place. I couldn't help but grimace at the sight. Charlotte brazenly entered our new home and with a pompous attitude said,
"George did a good job. This place is really spacious. New-built homes are the best after all."
She just went ahead and opened the doors to every room without even asking. I wanted to give her a piece of my mind right then and there. "Hey, that's rude." When George's father scolded her, she sulked and replied,
"What's the problem? This is gonna be my place from now on, isn't it?"
Upon hearing her words, George instantly retorted, "Huh? Quit it with your nonsense. You obviously don't have a room here, do you?" Despite George's serious tone, she continued,
"But if my parents are moving in here, then from today, this is my parents' house, right? So I do have a right to live here."
We were all speechless at her audacity. It was clear that from the start, Charlotte had plans to move into our house. Further, she declared,
"Since I'll be the one spending the most time at home, the largest room here belongs to me."
At Charlotte's defiant words, I felt something snap inside me. Excuse me? Your room? Let me see. If you're insisting then. I quietly pointed to the storage shed outside meant for garden tools. Even if I were to bend over backward, the only place I can think of to prepare for you would be that old shed. Oh, and of course, you'd still need to pay monthly rent. Actually, I don't want you in our new house at all. Can you please just leave already? Upon hearing my words, my sister-in-law Charlotte blushed crimson.
Are you joking?
She shouted, lunging at me. Thankfully, my husband George stepped in promptly. Enough is enough, Charlotte, he said. Stop causing us trouble. Unlike his wildly unruly sister, George was a calm and collected man. The only one he'd ever raise his voice against would be this woman. Charlotte, who never has any respect for her older brother, retorted,
George, you shut up.
No, you're the one who needs to be quiet. Charlotte, enough is enough. When our father-in-law's voice thundered down, even Charlotte was silenced. Charlotte, quit it with your nonsense and listen now. We're not moving in here, and you should think of our old home as gone.
What?
I had to suppress a laugh as I looked at Charlotte, whose expression was like a deer caught in headlights. From the beginning, Charlotte seemed to believe that George and I, along with her parents, would continue to live together in our new home. But that was not the case. We'd been informed a while back that our parents were planning to sell the old family home and move to the countryside. The reason was simple.
We're just tired of being bothered by Charlotte all the time. We want to enjoy our retirement in peace.
Apparently, our mother-in-law had said those words in frustration. Charlotte had left their old home saying,
I never want to see this house again. I don't consider you guys as parents to me. Get out of my sight already.
My in-laws were worn down from living with her. Short-tempered Charlotte had been causing problems all along, some even leading to lawsuits. Her parents had been paying out settlements for her, yet Charlotte showed no signs of remorse. The reason our mother-in-law had started working part-time was to make these payments. The sum they had to bear due to Charlotte was substantial. George and I had been supporting them as much as we could, finally managing to lead a peaceful life these past few years. Despite all that, Charlotte, who seemed to have forgotten all she'd done, was ungrateful for her parents and would only rely on them when it suited her. I was beyond frustrated with her.
Then I'll live in your new house with you guys, or else I'll be homeless.
Charlotte finally showed signs of panic when she learned the truth.
Enough already, Charlotte. It's a definite no. We tried to talk to you so many times, but you never listened. Did you think we would forgive you for everything just because we're your parents? We're humans too. We have feelings. And remember, you were the one who said, you guys aren't my parents. Get out of my sight already.
Our mother-in-law spoke out coldly to Charlotte, who wore an expression we'd never seen before. Seeing Charlotte crumble, George and I exchanged a knowing look. Dad, it's not because of a heartbreak or losing her job that she came back in the first place. Sophia and I know everything. At George's words, Charlotte paled. In truth, Charlotte dated her colleague who was married. She knew he was married but still didn't end their affair, and finally his wife found out about it. The affair got out at work, and both Charlotte and her lover got fired. They're divorced now, but your lover's wife was my friend. The other day, I saw her after a long time, but she had lost so much weight that I almost didn't recognize her. Had fun being a homewrecker? You know, there's a special place for hell for people like you. I felt like I was about to cry. I had discussed this with my husband, but we hadn't talked to my in-laws yet. We didn't want to upset them.
No, it's not like that. I fell in love with him, so I couldn't help it.
I watched my sister-in-law spout out the same excuses that cheaters usually use with a cold gaze. I glanced at my in-laws, and they looked furious. They dragged my sister-in-law back to their place. Later on, I heard from my in-laws that my sister-in-law had started doing housework out of desperation to move in with them to their new place. But that didn't change how my in-laws felt. Hurry up and pack your things. Get out of here. My father-in-law kept saying like a mantra.
Why? I've been trying hard with the housework. I've been doing the laundry and vacuuming the house. What more do you want?
She ended up lashing out in the end.
There's no more or less to it. What you're doing is what's expected. It's called taking care of yourself. Did you think you'd be praised for that? You're a grown adult. My mother-in-law shot back, and my sister-in-law blushed in embarrassment. To add insult to injury, you know, I've already written my will. All the inheritance will go to George. There isn't much left because of you. You've been written out of the will. It's up to the court, but it will likely go through. My father-in-law announced, and my sister-in-law's eyes widened in surprise. Sometime later, my in-laws' moving day arrived, timed with my father-in-law's retirement. My sister-in-law had pared down her belongings to just a single suitcase. According to my mother-in-law, she had sold most of her things for money. As we saw my in-laws off, we turned to head back to our car, but my sister-in-law followed us for some reason. What is it? I asked, puzzled. I have nowhere to go. Hey, bro and sis, please. I want to live in your house too. I'll take the small room. She pleaded, but more than anything, hearing her call me sis sent chills down my spine. I glanced at George, and he seemed to feel the same way. Hell no! Live with you? Not even in your wildest dreams would I allow that. By now, we're leaving. He told her off bluntly, and we got in the car and drove off. A few days later, while we were enjoying a peaceful day off, our doorbell rang. When we saw the person standing at our door, we both let out a sigh. Hey no, stop bothering us. Do you want us to call the cops on you? When I opened the door, my sister-in-law was there, prostrating herself in front of me. Amid her seemingly futile performance, she pleaded, Please let me stay here. I've been living in hotel rooms and doing odd jobs occasionally, but I don't want to live like this anymore. My husband and I were flabbergasted at her self-inflicted misery. I don't care. We're no longer related to you anyway. But as I tried to shut the door, she grabbed hold of it. At least give me some money. I maxed out my credit cards thinking my parents would cover it for me again this month. And I have to pay my alimony, right? If my lover's wife was really your friend, ask your friend to lower the amount for me. We didn't want to talk to her at all, but her brazen selfishness was too much. I snapped. Don't mess with me. I've never seen such a lowlife like you before. I don't want to see your face again, so stay away from me. My sister-in-law wouldn't leave, but her face suddenly paled. She noticed our dogs barking from inside our house. Wait, you have a dog? She asked. We adopted one of 3 puppies that my parents' dog gave birth to. Want to see it? As soon as I said this, she freaked out. What? No way. I can't stand dogs. You must be crazy to live with a dog. I'd rather not be part of this house. She stormed off, spewing her anger. The truth is, my sister-in-law has a strong dislike for dogs. According to George, she was traumatized by a large dog that playfully chased her when she was a child and has hated even the sight of dogs ever since. Thanks for chasing off that chick, Marin, I said, petting our toy poodle. We haven't seen my sister-in-law since then, but a friend told me that she saw her walking in ragged clothes in a distant town. She probably isn't living well, but that's none of my business. I hope she struggles. George and I are enjoying a peaceful life in our new home. George's parents also seem to be enjoying their country life, occasionally video calling us and visiting. They were able to keep their address from my sister-in-law, so she hasn't pulled up to their place so far. Both of them look healthier and happier, as if they lost a burden. A few months after living into our new house, we got blessed with a new life. I am now expecting a baby. I had heard that stress could cause fertility issues, so maybe that was why we couldn't conceive before. We're expecting a new family member next year. Looking at George smiling happily next to me, I gently stroked my small bump, hoping that he would always be by my side in the future.